board.
Call meeting to order. Kelly, can you do a roll call, please?
Thank you, Vice Mayor Stapleton. District 1, Councilman Rios is excused. District 2, Councilman Pastor is excused. District 3, Councilman Leatham.
Present.
District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 5, Councilman Gonzalez.
Here.
District 6, Councilman Shipley.
Here.
We have a quorum, Vice Mayor. Oh, Mayor Gamaros is also excused for tonight. Thank you.
Thank
Vice Mayor.
you, Shelley, appreciate it. And then Shelley, can you do the invitation?
Yes, thank you so much. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening. We pray that you bless this meeting and that the decisions will benefit this community. We pray that you bless our council and members who are not with us this evening. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for city staff and their commitment to best serve the city of Globe. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Jesse, can you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll go to summary of current events, and we'll start with Mariano.
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor, this week there's two important report outs from projects initiated by the University of Arizona. One is Project Harvest, it's basically the rainwater study for the region, and the results are going to be available this week on the 2nd. The other one is the community, Hill Valley Community Environmental Advisory Board, which the mayor had asked me to sit in. And it has to deal with studying the effects of any pollution, of the after effects actually of the recent fires, whether any triggers that release chemicals into the environment. Samples were taken in that report, I believe is going to come out on the 1st. That group, twisted my arm and made me chairman. But
Congratulations.
the committee is presenting the results of that study conducted by another grant at the U of A. Both will be the first stab at public information process, and the results are very interesting. And I really invite public on Friday and Saturday of this week. It's in the paper to attend. I think the first one starts at 5 o'clock on Friday, and on Saturday the second one at 10 o'clock. And we both are at William Plaza Museum.
Good.
So this is like a 3-year effort on these two committees. I'm pleased to say they're breaking new ground on how we analyze the after effects, especially of disasters. And so it's groundbreaking. It's U of A at their best, and I look forward to the public coming out and taking a look at those results. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mariano. Fernando?
Today I got to go look at the Gorman project for the affordable senior housing. And it's really impressive, all the amount of work that's been done and the quality of work that's been done. Because I'm one of those guys that argues all the time about how we push too much on the codes and building codes and letting people do some of their own stuff. But to see them do it exactly the way they're supposed to do it, whenever they ran into a problem, they brought in an engineer, got it resolved, and it does make me feel good to see them do a quality project. So, still doesn't mean that we don't need to do something to work with people, but I can see the benefits of it. So it's just happy to have that project going forward.
I know they're working all night and all day, and then right, I live right above that. You can hear them hammering away, which is good. I'm not complaining. Thank you. Jesse?
Basically, I don't have anything to do with it.
Thank you. I just have a few things, just an update on my personal thing. My Thanksgiving went well. I served about 160 people, somewhere in there. So I cooked 14 turkeys. I don't know how many pounds of potatoes and stuffing, whatever, but it was another success. So had a really good turnout. A lot of volunteers, so it was really nice. So thank you for everybody that helped me do that. And then second of all, I did hear First Fridays not canceled, but postponed.
Rescheduled.
On the 8th, correct?
Correct.
All right. And unfortunately, I get to light the tree every year, but I won't be able to this year. It's my birthday, so my kids and my grandkids are coming up that day. So unless I don't think I can sneak out of there, but if I can, I will. It's probably one of my most favorite things to do all year. So.
We'll sing happy birthday.
Right, if the tree lights. Usually it doesn't. So, but anyway, I'll let you know about that. See if I can sneak away. And that's all I have. Paul?
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, thank you. Again, just to reiterate, the Festival of Lights will be on Saturday, December 2nd, starting at 5 o'clock. Yes, 5 o'clock. And then again, the first Friday has been moved to second Friday on the 8th. And then the light parade will be on December 9th. And that's always the highlight of the Christmas season. So I'm really excited about that. Staff's been working hard, everybody getting ready for it, and expecting good winter weather, but not too cold.
Not too cold. So is the Festival of Lights going to continue even with the weather? Or because Friday was...
Think positive.
Yeah.
I think they're setting up, and
Are
we're
they?
watching the weather, and unless something changes drastically,
Okay.
we're going forward with it.
Glow sticks?
Yeah, well, don't jinx us. Okay, just think, clear skies,
Right?
moonlit. Okay, and lots of.
Is that all, Paul?
That's all I have, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of
Thank
council.
you.
Thank you.
Next, we go on to the first meeting call of the public. Any citizen desiring to speak on a matter that is not scheduled on the agenda may do so at this time. This is the time for the public to comment to members of the city council, explicitly not to members of staff. 3 minutes per person and shall be addressed explicitly to the city council. Do we have any cards? I know we have cards in the back. If anybody wants to talk about anything.
It doesn't appear anybody's charging here to the podium. Have nothing nothing. No one was handed in.
No,
Nothing on email.
and there are no texts.
Nothing? Okay, good. Thank you. And then next on the agenda is item 3, special presentations and ceremonial matters. Presentations, proclamations, awards, guest introductions, and announcements. Item A, project manager for Meridian Engineering to give an update on the Upper Canal Creek Bridge. That's a
We have our-
presentation.
No, we don't have a presentation. We have the speakers here.
Okay.
So go ahead. And I apologize, I don't have your names in front of me, but please introduce yourselves.
Sure, my name's Donald Graham. I'm the field safety manager for Meridian. The project manager is out of the country at this time. So I have with me General Superintendent Eduardo Montano, and we're gonna go over a few pictures and we'll talk about.
Oh, we do. Okay.
Can you point that microphone down towards you, so please? Thank you.
I'm just a little bit vertically challenged, sorry.
That's better. Thank you.
So what you have up before you is the schedule, the 3-week schedule that we work off all the time. Currently, where we sit right now, we've got the abutments and the pier and bridge cord. Backfill and the deviant baskets for erosion are being put in. They'll be finished by the end of this week. Very soon, we're gonna be starting the work to put the deck So that's kind of 30,000-foot overview of where we are right now. And then, do you have the pictures that were sent in a chance?
No, I didn't
We
see.
can talk about those.
No, we have the, no, we just have the timeline.
Okay.
I did not see any pictures, but
We were-
we've driven by there. So we have it etched. Yeah. But tell us more.
Would
It's,
you like to elaborate?
yeah.
Yeah, so basically our critical path right now would be, working on the deck and the deck form rebar. Getting that forward, moving the railroad people, start working on their signs. So that's gonna be coming up in the next week. The 6th, we've got a meeting with the Eastern Railroad, so we can discuss, their scope of work. So it'll get pretty busy here in the next couple of weeks. Everything.
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, so your schedule, and I know sometimes you have some winter weather, water can come through there. But I think you have made preparations to handle small flows.
Yes, we have diverted all the water to the center pier. Originally, we had formed 10-kip shoring, but we modified our form system to do a suspended in the center pier, so we can direct all of our flows to the center pier,
Okay.
instead of out to the abutments.
And Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, I know that it seems like you're on with this push right now. You're not having any supply chain labor issues. You've got good crews working constantly. How's that all going?
It's actually going pretty good. We all of our materials on site, and we haven't had any delays.
Okay.
The hardest part is finding qualified people right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's going back to the board right now.
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, I would say having Connie's grocery store right there has got to be a plus for your workers.
Cheapest ice I've found in southern Arizona.
Mr. Vice Mayor, thank you. So,
Questions?
questions?
Do we have any questions?
Well, I think the only thing that, so what was the original timeline? So I know we had to redo some of those piers because they didn't come out the way we needed them to be. So are we now pushed back from the original timeline, or is it kind of where we were trying to be the whole time?
We're definitely impacted, so we're pushed out. Because all of our weather days, I think we're up to like 26 weather days right now.
So this timeline here that looks like you're gonna be done sometime in April is probably still on track?
That's with all the delays, but we're trying to beat that. Ideally, we're trying to get done by the end of January.
Oh, okay.
That'd be fantastic.
Mhm.
Yep.
We had extremely good luck. We want cars over the bridge by the middle of January.
Good.
And Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, I want to thank you guys. I know when we were finishing out the pool, you had some crews that were available to help us do some quick concrete work, and that was a real benefit to have them being able to pivot over to us. And then one last question is like, Luis, he's a tough cookie, isn't he?
Not really.
This is the nicest and easiest going person we've ever worked for.
No, okay. There you go. Well, that's good. I know. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I drive that every day. I watch the crews every day, and from the standstill, from the piers and getting where you guys are now, you guys have moved a lot and very fast paced, and I appreciate that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, next on the agenda is the consent calendar. Matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk. Prior to considerations of the consent agenda, the mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and or staff may remove any item for separate consideration.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I personally would like to ask to pull D, the heads, pull
Pull D?
D, the Head Start. And
Can you read them all, or?
Yeah, I think. So item A.
oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, item A is, consideration of waivers of section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. Item 1, accounts payable, $411,239.74. Item 2, consideration of approval of council minutes, November 14th, 2023 meeting minutes. Item B, consideration of agreements and purchases less than $25,000. Item C, consideration to approve the 2024 Globe City Council meeting calendar. And then we're gonna pull item D for Paul.
Okay.
And then item E is consideration to approve a temporary extension of premises and patio permit for the Huddle located at 392 North Broad Street for First Fridays and special event weekends.
Vice Mayor, I would move to approve the consent agenda minus item D.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, say nay.
That's abstention.
Any abstaining? Any further, any abstaining? Any further discussion? Motion passes minus item number D. Paul?
So you need to read, go ahead and read D. Because
D
you
would
pulled it.
be consideration to approve Canal Gila County or Community Child Services temporary occupancy at the Globe Head Start building located at 160 Murphy Street.
So, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, just want to give you the quick backstory on this. I got a phone call right before Thanksgiving. The Head Start Miami, they had the water line to the bathroom fixture broke like on a Friday night, and by Monday morning we got in there in Miami. It was 2 inches of water and crawling up the wall and the drywall and soaked through the subfloor. They got an estimate of four months to get it replaced, and so they were scrambling to try to find office space so they could continue their work. They used to occupy that building. We own the building and are in the process of getting an RFP out to find permanent use for that. But since it was still unoccupied and I don't see us having anything resolved in 4 months, I'm like, let's just get a special event permit to allow them to use that. A special event permit allows members of the public to use city services or facilities for a short amount of time. And it's a little long, but there's no charge. It insures insurance, and they're not going to use it for kids for activities because they have to get it recertified. But they are going to do their office hours, and they have nighttime classes with parents and kids. They're not going to be using the playground equipment because John rightly was worried about, whether that was certified and everything like that. But I thought it was just a quick, easy fix to let them get back in there and use that building. Buildings are always healthier and last longer when they're occupied. And so just want to give you that background, but it is a temporary request, but I wanted to make sure that council was supportive of this effort.
Questions or comments, Mayor? Motion to approve item D is read.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item D. All in favor say aye. Any nays say nay. Any abstaining? Any further discussion? Motion passes. Next on the agenda is new business. Item A, we have a public hearing in consideration to approve Series 6 liquor license application for the Silver Tap, formerly known as Farley's, located at 230 North Broad Street, Interlochen, Arizona. So go ahead and open it.
Yes, please.
So with that, I open the public hearing. And then we're gonna have a presentation by staff.
No, if you were I don't see anybody. We want to see if anybody wants to come up and speak to it. And then once we close the public hearing, I can give a little background. Okay. And I don't see anything on the web. I don't see anybody charging the podium. And anything on the phone?
No,
Do you want to charge the podium? John? Shelley?
Mr. Vice Mayor, Council, the notice was posted for the 20 required days, and the clerk's office received no comments of opposition.
Yeah. And Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, it's important that these come before us so we're informed. It's very rare that they get turned down or anything like that, but we did have an instance about a couple of years ago where there was a liquor license that we did not support and ended up failing. So it is a level of local control on something that's much bigger than us, but we do have a voice if there's an extreme circumstance. And so, but we're very supportive of this. I think everybody knows the change in ownership and new liquor license, and I think everybody's very, very supportive.
So I assume we close the hearing and then.
Yeah, we'll discuss.
Yeah.
So go ahead and close the public hearing.
Oh, I thought you had closed.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
No.
I'm sorry.
So I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I just assumed since they already had a liquor license, is it because of the ownership on the liquor license itself changes?
Yeah, I don't know if you can transfer.
Shelley, is it a different number? Do we know?
Yes, I guess
So they
they
still have to get it
took the
approved?
liquor license, but the owners took
I
it.
was just thought it was, I just assumed it was an automatic thing because they already had a liquor license.
They'll have to get their own LLC.
So, and Shelley informed me that they took the liquor license with them, and that this is actually a different number.
Is it?
Farley's took the.
Yeah.
Really?
So the application says that this liquor license will expire June of 2024, so I'm assuming this is just until they get their, and this is for the Silver Tap, which is the name of the business, but it is the name of the owner of the business license is an LLC, so I guess they're just using this LLC to establish.
They have to get their own LLC.
Okay,
in
then-
order to get a liquor license.
Then this must be their LLC, Copper Kettle Group LLC, yes.
Vice Mayor, I would move to approve the Series 6 liquor license for the Silver Tap.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second, and we have, everybody requesting to waive the rules?
No, is this to bring it back?
This is the very.
To bring it back?
It is.
Okay, so I would amend my motion.
Yeah, to return to the next available meeting.
I'll second that amendment.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second to bring this item back. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays say nay. Any abstaining? Any further discussion? Motion passes. Thank you. Next on the agenda, under new business, is item B, discussion and consideration to approve contract number PS-2024-0053 with Public Sector Personnel Consultants to conduct a compensation study for the City of Globe for $14,000, funded through account number 10-55-51234, Administration. contractual services and request to waive section 2-4-10A prior discussion. Paul?
So, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, as you know, 3 years ago, we did our first market survey. It was compensation and benefit survey to see where our salaries and our benefits lined up with the people who we compare with and the people that our employees have the opportunity to it's our competition in employment. We did that. We rolled out and implemented some market adjustments based on the survey. One of the things that we had told, and I do have Pam Leonard here if we have any questions also on that first one. We put the market study in and look at how we're doing. We said at that time, in 3 years we'd look at it again and see where we're at. There's been a lot of politics. There's a lot of the economy's changing. COVID's over. Things are different. And that's the reason why we want to look at updating the market study. And so we have Kay the same. She'll be taking the information we have and then updating that. And we looked at the contract. The contract originally came in about $9,000. What we wanted to do though is we wanted to expand it a little bit. We're dropping the benefits. I think the benefits were was not as helpful as we thought it would be. The salary is really important, but what we also want to do, two things that we're doing different with this market survey. We're starting early. We were asking you to waive the rules because on December 5th, we have meetings lined up with the directors from the 4 major departments, from Public Works, Police, Fire, Administration. And once we get this contract in place, but before we do any work on here, we're going to sit down independently with the directors and find out what do they want to include in the market survey. Some of the things that we've always talked, money is the prime mover, but there are a lot of things that other cities do, and everybody's getting creative. We're getting creative, and so we gotta kind of see not only the money, but what do they have that they're the perks or the added benefits, the add-ons. In Public Works, we can talk about CDLs. That's a valuable addition to somebody that we can look at. I know in Fire, there's the rope training and the technical crews, and PD, there are different trainings and take-home vehicles and things like that. And so we want to work with the directors to find out ways we can maybe make us more competitive in those ways that our competitors are doing. If everybody else is doing this, well, we got to get with the program. And so that is why there's more meetings, a lot more question and answering going on. But we want to customize this so we can really get a good handle on what do we have available to compare. Now, this is just a study to see where we're at. We're starting early, so in the spring, when we start working on the budget, we can look and see where, and then council can make the decisions on what's in line, what's not in line, changes do we need to make? Do we need to make any changes? And so this is just a study to get a new, freshened baseline so that you can make better decisions. We can bring better information to council when it comes to build the budget. It doesn't mean automatically that anything's going to happen. And then Kay is here. She's on Zoom. Kay, do you want to talk about the process that you use and what we're going to do here?
Sure, I would love to. Thank you, Paul, and good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor and members of the council. We're in the very beginning stages of this project, but yes, first thing we'll want to take a look at and decide upon is who are we going to use as comparators. This is the list that we used from the last study, and I believe it was 2021. Is that still relevant? So we look at a couple of items. one being, who do we lose employees to? Where do we recruit employees from? Who do you consider to be your comparables, so other cities like you? And for some jobs, we would want to look at size sensitivity, small towns. Oftentimes, their scope of the higher level occupations are different than for a large town. In some cases, it doesn't matter for police officer in a small town versus police officer in a large town. There's not going to be as much scope difference, not to say that there isn't differences. So we want to identify basically who are we going to compare to. So we're going to take a look at the comparator list used last time, dust it off, and determine if any changes are needed or desired. Then we will, or I will, contact each of those comparators to obtain their salary plan. So the base information we'll be collecting will be what do they pay, and then so the decisions to make along the way in terms of do we want to compare the city of Globe's salary range at the midpoint? Do we want to look at minimum to minimum comparisons, max to max? So there's a couple other little things that we will need to be discussing and making some decisions on. But the first step would be identifying market comparators and obtaining their salary, their base salary data. So just as a reminder, I know that some of you have probably heard me speak before, probably with the last study, but there's a couple of things we want to keep in front of us. And one is that it's the occupations that we're going to be surveying. So our question will be, what's the value of an occupation in the marketplace? And that will be what we're going to attempt to identify with the salary survey. Then, based upon feedback from the city and the items that they feel are important to include, we'll be collecting data about additional pay. So, as Mr. Jepson mentioned, take-home vehicles, it's not necessarily a total compensation or a cash benefit, but it can be a perceived value, and it might be an important component to take a look at. Who's offering that, and is it something the city would like to consider? And then additional pay for other things like education, certification, training pays, assignment pays, in police and fire. I know that that can be a big portion of your take-home pay is those additional compensations that are made available that are not in the base salary plan. So there'll be some conversations about what is important to include. And once we identify what it is that we're looking to survey, then again, collecting the data from those comparators to find out what's the prevailing practice out there. So finding out what the market looks like will be step one. Once we identify what that is, then the next step will be coming back to identify, well, what does that information mean? It may be that you're placed where you want to be and no additional efforts will be necessary, or it may be additional conversations as to what types of compensation you offer to aid recruiting and retention.
So, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, like I say, it's going to be very helpful to our planning for the future and retention. And I know that you will be back at some point and put this to use for our upcoming budget cycle.
Fernando?
Kate, just a quick question. So how often do we have to do like these surveys? Because it just seems like the old logic was you just want to increase their pay by 3% or 5%, or whatever that number is, to keep them on track. But that's not what it is.
You know, we're in a really interesting time with, post-COVID, the economy, the housing market. There's so many factors, and we as a consulting firm, and my colleagues and I have been very surprised about what we thought would happen and what has actually happened, or the things that didn't happen. So yeah, I would like to say, ideally, we used to say every year. Then for a brief period of time, we found that things stayed relatively stable, and you could get away as a city or a town in conducting a salary survey every 5 or 10 years, and you'd be in great shape. So I think that the biggest trigger in should we have a salary survey or should we conduct one would be, are you having a hard time recruiting and retaining? What kind of rumblings do you hear amongst your employees? I think that it's a desirable exercise to do every 3 to 5 years, just to make sure you're keeping pace with where you want to be in the market. But I'm not sure there's a hard and fast number anywhere, especially right now where things are just very different than they were, 10 years ago. I've been doing this for 20 years, so yeah, this has been a different world we're in right now.
Any question?
I think that's,
Any other questions?
no, but if no one's gonna make a motion, I will. Motion to approve contract PS 2024-0053, public sector personnel consultants for $14,000 to conduct compensation study from account 10-55-51234, administration contractual services pending legal review and waive section 2-4-10A prior discussion. Second.
And Mr. Vice Mayor, just a quick note, this was budgeted in contractual services admin, so this is money that was just set aside for this purpose.
So do you want to redo his motion without the pending legal review, or?
Well, that's okay, we can,
It's okay.
yeah, we can, that'll be okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, say nay. Any abstaining? Any further discussion? Motion passes.
Vice Mayor, members, council, thank you. Kay, thank you very much. We'll see you up here December 5th.
Thank you all. I look forward to working with you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item C, discussion and possible approval of contribution of $10,000 for fiscal year 2023 and $10,000 for fiscal year 2024 to the Gila Proud Partnerships US 60 Highway Cleanup Program, and to approve the transfer of $20,000 from account number 11-80-53-002 HERF Capital Projects Reserve to account number 11-80-51234 HERF contractual services, which will be used to fund the contribution and request to waive section 2-4-10A. Paul?
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, Gila Proud is a group of stakeholders and supporters of Southern Gila County. One of the items they champion, and this is spearheaded by county, and we see County Manager James Menlove in the audience. They put together a contract to hire 2 people and a pickup truck to go out and do the highway cleanup throughout the region. I won't embarrass myself by trying to explain where that leads to, but it does go through the heart of Globe US 60. We had, in the meetings, we made verbal commitments last year to put $10,000 into that, and also this year, again, to fund that. But we did fail to include it in the budget last year or spend it and pay the county. And this year also, we need to put our money there or pay our 10,000 share. And so it was not budgeted, but we were moving that money out of HERF, and the number would go down. We started with 359,315 in capital reserve, projects reserved, HERF money, and we'll take 20,000 out of that to pay both those 2 $10,000 payments. So you're approving both the allocation of money and then the payment. So
The county's not charging us a late fee?
the middle of the night, sometimes I get some awkward emails. I'm like,
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I just want to comment on this particular effort. In the past, when I was just coming coming on board, people were complaining about the condition, the messiness of the highway, both sides. Some were more vocal than others. And now I drive through the community and I see the guys at work. They're doing their job, they're cleaning up. And you've got to remember, there's a lot of people who don't even know this project exists. But since then, I've not heard complaints, just compliments. Hey, city's looking up, the town's looking up, corridors looking up. So it's in the background, but it's getting done. And I really point that out whenever people talk to me. What is the government up to these days? Do you like the condition of your lack of weeds along the highway? That's one thing that's being addressed. So I'm pleased with that. And kudos to the county and the other groups that are involved in this to get this done. And I did hear of that during our planning stages a couple of years ago. The city looks messy, we need to clean it up. Here's one way to go after it. So I really approve. I like seeing these people working out there. I got a good feeling though that we're, staff. So I really like this program. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mario. Any other comments or questions?
I got it.
Gerardo?
So I've been on council for a while, and one of the things that we always kind of debated about was that's the right of way of ADOT, so ADOT takes care of that. But the problem is that ADOT has a schedule, and that schedule doesn't necessarily coordinate when our streets look bad. And so I know that there were some community members really pushing for this, and I'm glad that it happened because it does reflect a lot more pride in our community. And although it may be technically ADOT's responsibility, it makes us either look good or look bad. And so I'm glad that we're taking ownership of it. I think it's money well spent. One thing that I would like to see us push for though is, for example, along Highway 60 there across from Hill Street.
Mhm.
Those ditches used to be deeper, but over time they filled in with dirt. And so if the dirt next to the sidewalk is 2 foot taller than the sidewalk, every time it rains or storms, it's gonna wash all that back onto the sidewalk. So what I would like to see us do is coordinate with ADOT and say, instead of, since we're cleaning the highway, can you come in and dig the ditch again? And that way we don't have to be out there every time it rains. So I think that would be a good idea.
Where is that?
Well, the one I'm speaking of, where UDOM expansion had that land that he was clearing? So right in there, that hillside, when they cut it, over time, the dirt sloughs off the side. That used to be a ditch where the water would run. Well, now that ditch is no longer there and it's above the sidewalk. So that means anytime it rains, that just gets washed onto the sidewalk, which means these poor guys are out there sweeping it up all the time.
Right.
When it could just be a drainage ditch. So.
Okay. No, take note of that. I know we'll be looking in the next budget cycle to participate again with this, and we can look at the scope and I have a feeling my lack of timeliness on my payment may result in a little bit more of a request.
And is there any questions or comments?
No other questions or comments? Ms. Mayor, I motion to approve a contribution of $10,000 for fiscal year 2023 and $10,000 for fiscal year 2024 to the Plymouth Rock Partnership US 60 Highway Cleanup Program, and approve the transfer of $20,000 from account 11-80-53002 for capital projects reserved to account number 11-80-51234 for contractual services, and request to waive section 2-4-20 a prior discussion rule.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second.
And Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, like I say, this is one of those items where we're taking it from a reserve fund, moving into a action fund, the one that we can spend out of. We're doing it at the same time. So we're moving the money and then spending the money.
I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays say nay. Any abstaining? Any further discussion? Passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item D, discussion and consideration to approve a consulting contract number PS dash 2024 dash 0050 with Philip D. Cushman for land annexation assistance in the amount not to exceed $25,000, with the initial $12,500 to be funded from account number 10-55-51234, contractual services for land annexation assistance, and the remainder to be approved as part of the fiscal year 24-25 budget process. Paul?
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. Anyways, the so annexations are something that are important to a city in fulfilling the needs of the city. When you talk to Steve Stratton, I think he did 16 annexations. Some were very friendly, some were still controversial. But what we have now, and with us, like in the annexation we did out by the pool, that was requested. That was a one-up annexation, but they're very complicated. Timelines, dates, legal requirements. If you don't do them right, it can easily be blown up in court by just about anybody who takes a dislike to that. So it's really important, and credit to Steve Stratton for his diligence in getting those right and having that record. He did that one annexation. We've been trying to find a way to get this done as a council priority. It's been mentioned in a strategic action plan. And there are lots of people out there. I can think 2 or 3 on Just Hayes, one out by the fairgrounds, where people are asking to come in. They want to join the city, and we just haven't had the internal capacity to make sure that these go on a timely method. At one of my ACMA conferences, I met, and I'd known Phil for a while, but we were talking. He was in between positions. He was a former city manager of Duncan, and he's now living in Quartzsite, actually. But we talked about some side work that he could do, some contractual work that he could do, and we're thinking about that. And I'm like, man, he's tight. He's former military, and so he's very, and that's the kind of person you need to quarterback these annexation requests. So it comes in, we find the person that is requesting it. We come to council and ask permission to go to annexation, and then we get the maps, the forms, we hit the meeting requirements, the deadlines, the public hearings, and the filings, and he will make sure that all of these are hit on the right time, the paperwork's right, that we're using the right format, work with the League of Cities, because they have the book on annexation, and then we'll do the filing on our end and some of the legwork, but he doesn't need to be up here to do these. We need someone that can focus like a laser beam on making sure they hit their mark, and we plan on doing multiple at the same time, so it'll get a little bit more complex. But these are ones that have been in the queue for up to 2 years. I know John knows of the person that keeps about every 3 months asking us when we're going to do the annexation, and so it's a need. He's working for a very reasonable sum of $50 an hour, and so we are very happy to bring him on board and have this will be working under Development Services under Linda Abnetto. She'll be part of developing the city, and she will be managing goes as planned. Linda, do you want to add anything on the annexation idea? Okay, and just 2 minutes on kind of what we know we need to do.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. Ooh, sound's working really well. Your gavel, that's scary. As Paul had mentioned, this is something that we've been working on pre-COVID. And with all the coming development and the growth of our department, this is something that has been shuffled around a little bit. But now we're laser focused to move it forward. We worked with Dana to develop a 5-phased approach to the annexation, but with someone that can just focus on annexation only and not think about cleaning up right-of-ways and easements and Board of Adjustment meetings and things that we have going right now, this is something that we have really teed up well, and so we can now pass that off to Phil, and he can help us carry it across the finish line. So as Paul had mentioned, we have been reached out to by many community members that are interested in becoming part of the city, coming into the city limits, and part of that is just the momentum of the development that's coming into the community and all the good things that the city and city council have accomplished over the last few years. So we see this as a great win, also a way to add additional rooftops to our population, and again, that brings additional revenue. So this is a win-win for the city. And then part of the process is doing an economic impact report so that we can demonstrate to our residents and to our council that this is economically sound to move forward and consider.
Of course, I always have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
good.
procurement, we don't have to go out. for an
Under
RFP.
for professional services under $50,000, we don't have to go for. And Linda met Phil also when the three of us had this conversation, and so he but professional services, it's not something that you could it just in our code, it's in compliance.
And then the other question I had is, when someone wants to be annexed into the city, is this a cost that we share with them, or is it to our benefit to have them be in the city, so therefore we bear our costs?
So this is really interesting. The requirement of annexation is you offer equal to or greater services than in the county. Okay, and so a lot of times people in the county have basic services. We do take on more responsibility, but we do have the ability, because we get a direct fiscal benefit by adding to our city population, our census count, therefore state share distributions, and any grant applications we do, we have a greater number. Many formulas of state and federal money is distributed based on internal population. And so because of those long-term benefits, we can work to do development agreements or some type of improvement that would help. The Soto property is the one that comes to my mind. Would be there's something there that we never could fix because it was a gift clause issue. But if that annexation were to go forward, that would be something that we could resolve and do it legally, because we by annexing in, we gain a benefit, and so we can negotiate some improvements to a degree of reasonableness. So, but no, it's an interesting process, and it happens many times in many cities. Many of them are just small, bite-sized annexations when people want to go in. Once in a while you see these big, territorial land grabs that are not what we do. It's not smart to do. You want to annex people who want to be annexed. You want to bring people in the city who want to join the city.
And a perfect example of one of those is this really funky county island that used to be the swap meet out towards Hunter Drive. So that would definitely be one of our first that we do. And the current property owner, they want that to happen as soon as possible, and they're looking to develop that into a commercial strip center for retail, and so they would like for that to be within the city of Grove.
Is that over by Ace?
Just some comments. I keep saying 2.5 years ago when I came on board, we are on our way to becoming a self-sustaining economy. Everything that we're doing, from staff efforts, state agencies looking at us, we've made ourselves to be attractive. And now, said in one subcommittee meeting, we're the asset. We work very hard to improve it, to make it attractive enough for any entity that's looking at coming to or being a part of the city of Grove. We're there. And I look for good things in the future, because in a self-generating economy, need everything that we've been looking at for the past 2 years. from education to IGAs with other parts of the county, other entities. They're coming in online. And we're getting noticed, and thanks to our marketing department, our development department. I'm bragging for a minute because I'm seeing these results come up. And that's where we want to be. And people want in on this asset. And that's exactly what we should be doing. And it's exactly where I'd like to see it continue to be so powerful as to be almost a self-generating economy. And I did point that out, I'm saying it again, 2.5 years ago. Look at Prescott, that's how they did start this. We're well on our way, and it's a pleasure to know that so many people, so many entities want to be a part of this city's future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariano. Any other comments or questions?
I would move to approve consulting contract PS 20240050 with Philip G. Cushman for land annexation assistance in the amount not to exceed $25,000 with the initial $12,500 to be funded from account number 10-55-51234, contractual services for land annexation assistance, and the remainder to be approved as part of the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget process.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second, and we're gonna bring this back, right? We need to waive the rules.
It's your choice. We can waive the rule. We don't have to. It's not I mean, it's Christmas time. It's getting close to Christmas time. And so if you'd like, we can just
I
go.
would amend my motion to waive the entire special.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Right, we'll get them fired up next week.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, say nay. Any abstaining? Any further discussion? Motion passes. Thank you, Andrea. Appreciate it. Okay, on to the action items. Item A, discussion and consideration to approve agreement number IGA -2024-0034 with Tri-City Regional Sanitary District to provide temporary wastewater treatment services until the property is available for connection to the district's facility. Paul?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, we talked about this, I think, the last meeting with the president of the station. This was a discussion and commitment we had talked about 4 years ago, and now that they're to that point where they're ready to start getting these agreements in place. These are properties that would be financially difficult for us to serve within the city because of the geography, easy for them to serve. We control the DMA, so we have this power to allow these to be served. There are no hookups or customers that we'll be losing other than 2 that are actually in the county that eventually will turn over to Tri-City Sanitation. One is on Center Street, the health department building, the elementary school, and then a house down the way, and those are in the county. But we do serve those 2 now, and eventually this contract allows us to continue serving until they're ready to hook up, because they're not hooking up tomorrow. But I will tell you that in talking about this, it would take these residents of Globe will get service much quicker by allowing them to hook up to the Tri-City Sanitation System than if they waited for us to find the capital to lay sewer lines and get it over the hill. And so I didn't ask any representatives to be here. They were here 2 weeks ago, so.
Any comments or?
No comments. I'd like to make a motion, Vice Mayor. Motion to approve IGA 2024-0034, the Tri-City Regional Sanitary District to provide temporary wastewater treatment services until the property is available for connection to the district's facility.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, say nay. Any abstaining? Any further questions or discussion? Motion passes. Thank you. Item B, consideration to approve number GF-24-61-05020 project partnership agreement between the City of Globe and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to receive funding initiated by U.S. Representative Gray Stanton for $2,100,000 for the replacement of the city water main from the Arizona Department of Transportation facility to the fairground entrance, and requiring a dedication of an additional 25% match for $700,000 by the city. Luis.
Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor and members of council. October the 10th, we brought up this for the first time. We made a presentation, and this was one of the projects that we talked about. This is called the 595 program. It is within, the course of 80 years. And what happens now is that the PPA is ready. It should be in the packets there. And it has been finalized and is ready for signatures. So what we're doing here with this action item is asking council to approve this PPA so the process can continue. From here, you have to go back to the court for the processing and their own signatures. And as you said, there is a match of $700,000 from the city. We talk about with the loan that $700 out of that we will help us with this match, and that was basically accepted last time. So we are here just to continue the process. This project with them, it is on track according to our initial schedule. It was showing desire to get into the PPA in October. The PPA execution will happen in February. Then there will be some design reviews in March. I was talking to Michael Tuttle this morning, who is the project manager for this project, the courts. And they say that as soon as March or April, they can start doing the environmental, investigation and all the documentation. And at the same time, we can start with pre-design and design. That will be happening in April. Final design is expected to be ready in June. Then there is, some compliance that we need to finalize. It's relative to approvals and permits. Expected to advertise the project in August 2024. And if we get all the bidders, we can contract in October next year, start construction somewhere around November. So this is gonna span into 2 budget cycles. And there is really no time frame for us. We can work at our own pace, but the sooner we can get started, the sooner we can get the project done, and the sooner we can recoup the money. Because this is, we make the payments to the contractors, and then we submit the invoices to the courts, and they reimburse us. So we're getting close, and next step will be finalize this PPA.
Just a couple of things. This water comes from the tanks that are up there by the schools, right?
There's actually, two segments.
And it comes down to where ADOT yard is, and then it cuts back behind where the old line is.
Yeah, it goes all the way to the entrance of the playgrounds.
I just want to do a shout out to U.S. Representative Greg Stanton, because he's not our congressman. And yet he backed us up to get this funding. Our congressman, we met, Eli Crane, liked him a lot, he seemed like a really good guy, but he's there in Washington to cut spending. And so this isn't something that he could, reconcile with his principles of cutting spending. So for Greg Stanton, who's not our congressman, to step up and go to bat for us, I think is an amazing thing. So hopefully we send him a good thank you note or something. And I just think it's a good project.
Is that another?
Mr. Vice Mayor, I'm excited about this project, as excited as opening pool. 2.1 million is nothing to sneeze at.
Right.
And it's in line with our trying to improve our future once again. We've already identified the northern corridor as the only way we can go. There are other places in town we want to backfill with development, but we should have a celebration when this finally gets into construction phase. Because I'm very proud of this. We don't have to do this, but here we are, and we're extending out a $700,000 match. And we're willing to do that. It's pretty good in my book. And I look forward to this infrastructure going in place, developing that northern corridor, whatever that future may be out there. At least we can say, yeah, we're laying the groundwork tonight, and let's get it done, and let's move it forward. So really, I want the gold shovels and the dirt turning. When they get some little waiter pools or something, and it's a substantial project.
It is.
And we need to remember sometimes, yeah, a water line is boring, yeah, it's not sexy. It's a big number in my book. Let's get her done.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Right, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, just two little side notes. Number one, this is the direct fruits of council's commitment to have a federal legislative agenda and invest money into that, and this pays back tenfold the money we spend between our lobbying efforts and our contract with a DC based lobbyist that specializes in Arizona, Bob Holmes and on. And there's more to come, but this is nice to see this coming here for approval. Kudos again to Representative Stanton. It started as 3 smaller projects, one with a tank, which we'd already spent, and the other one. And so we were able to work with the Corps of Engineers, and they've been very, very helpful. And again, Bob Holmes works with the Corps. We visited the Corps. And so this helps get that going from 3 projects, one that was moot, into one, saving the money. And that's the second advantage of having someone on the ground in DC. The last thing is just kind of an interesting story, but it's important that I share this with you. Arizona, for many years, has had a requirement that you plug certain language into all contracts. A fairness for non-discrimination against Israel, protection of the Uyghurs in China, and these are statutory requirements that include that. We got this and this is why this is late coming to us. We got this PPA, and our attorney Bill Sims, who's the granddad of city attorneys, he works for the risk pool, said, "Hey, you got to put this stuff in there." So we did, and sent it off, and they're like, "What's that?" And it was the only changes he had. And so we said, well, this is a Arizona statutory requirement. We put that in there. And they're like, okay. And they ran it up their food chain in the Corps of Engineers. And they came back and said, any deviation from the contract that we have will result in the contract being non-compliant, and you will not be funded. And so this was shared with us on a Zoom meeting with about 9 other cities, all their city attorneys, who also had these 595 projects. And so I let you know that we are approving this project knowing that it has some compliance with Arizona state law there, and we are going to document that non-compliance. And I think the choice is either to I don't think the spirit of the law that the state passed is such to block projects like this. I think the state would be very supportive. But I do want to let you know that by approving this, we are leaving out that required language. And I think we will stand by that action if need be. I don't see it being a gigantic problem or anything like that. And there's 9 other cities that are doing the same thing. And I think it might be good language for a bill this next season, the next legislative session, that we have a way of doing that for something as solid as a Corps of Engineers, funding grant. So just wanted to let you know that is the reason it took so long, because we had to work through the legal requirements, and Bill was the spearhead of all the cities on negotiating this.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
So does the money flow from the feds to the state, which then distributes to us?
The states, this is any contract, no matter what type, we have to put in this type of language. And
Regardless of the money comes from them or not?
yeah, it's not about the Corps, it's not about anything. If it's a private contract, a public contract, and we do put it in many, and we get people, national ones, we add it, it's just a protection that says, I promise that we're not hurting these populations. But, and so it's a crossover, it's a blend into politics, but, and there's been nothing wrong with it until we hit this decision. And so it is our recommendation that you approve this, knowing that there are 2 or 3 phrases that are not included in there. I think there are 2. But I think it's well worth the risk, and it's significant funds, and I don't see a downside.
And then also on the match, we can do in kind on those, right?
That's a yes. Yeah. And to remind you, we didn't want to have you approve this without having a dedicated funding source, and so the WIFA 700,000 is a dedicated funding source for the match. If we can find other sources, if something else comes up, or another way to do this, in kind, whatever, we will take advantage of it. But you can rest assured that if nothing else changes, we have money dedicated to this amount.
President,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve number GF-24-61-05020 project partnership agreement between the City of Globe and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to receive $2.1 million for the replacement of the city water main from the Arizona Department of Transportation facility to the fairgrounds entrance. Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, say nay. Any abstaining? Any further discussion?
Thank you.
I think Mayor Medina has one. You can
We're gonna need a gavel expense fund.
We'll have break glass in case of pull out the backup gavel.
All right. Item C, consideration and possible approval of a request to purchase a 2023 Ford F-150 4x4 from Courtesy Ford of Globe in the amount of $51,756.11, and to approve the transfer of $53,000 from account number 51-80-53002 wastewater capital projects reserved to account number 51-80-52000 wastewater capital projects equipment, which will be used to fund the vehicle purchase. Vince or John? Oh,
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. This has been one of those, as you know, all our fleet departments, or all of our departments, has been working towards replacing fleet, upgrading with, older vehicles and such. This project, or actually this vehicle, we came before you previous budget and awarded this contract with Courtesy Ford, where at that time was in transition with McSpadden Ford. Both of them actually were gracious to honor the contract and to switch over. And unfortunately, the commercial fleet has been fallen victim to the private sector, so we've been going on for about 1.5 years waiting for this order, for this truck. So graciously, Courtesy Ford has been working with us, trying to keep the original dollar amount, which, it's come in many times, reaching out to us and them calling us and giving us options, but we've kind of stuck to our guns because we definitely want to stay within the budget, and I didn't need any bells and whistles specifically other than this type of truck and having a four-wheel drive with the things that we're having issues with. So this is kind of, finally, it showed up. We were contacted 2 weeks ago, and like I said, where it suffered was just over that. The private sector and the orders, those are larger dollar amounts. So overall, the commercial fleet, has suffered on the ordering and the back orders. So luckily, the closing for the 2023 vehicles is closed, so now they're working on 2024s. So with that 2024, the price tag changes tremendously, as indicated in the staff report, anywhere from $9,000 to $12,000 more, and it could be minimal difference on the packages. So, like I said, luckily, Courtesy Ford has been working with us and contacting us and keeping us updated. So this is where we're at.
Good. Jesse? The only question I have is the difference between the purchase amount is 51,756.11, and you want us to transfer 53,000.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, Councilman Leatham, we still have licensing fees that additional money will, we don't pay licensing fees when we buy that. The clerk will pay those when she registers it as a government vehicle. And so that's more than enough to cover those licensing fees.
Any questions?
There are no other questions or comments. I make a motion to approve the request to purchase a 2023 Ford F-150 4x4 from Courtesy Ford of Globe in the amount of $51,756.11, and to approve the transfer of $53,000 from account 51-80530002 wastewater capital project reserve to account 51-805200 wastewater capital project equipment, which will be used to fund the vehicle purchase.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, say nay. Any abstaining? Any further discussion? Ready? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Now. Okay, item D. Consideration to approve number GA-2024-0024 with the town of Miami for the Copper Mountain Transit System in the amount of $73,000 funded through account number 10-50-51255 Mayor and Council Transportation HB 2565 match.
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, we are bringing this forward. Traditionally, we have contributed $73,000 towards our third of the match for the Miami Transit System. I will tell you that we are working with the county and are part of the IPTA, which is the Intergovernmental Public Transit Authorities. That has not taken effect yet, and we'll deal with this in the next budget cycle. But this year, it's the same IGA going forward with that. One of the requirements that traditionally we've had since I've been doing this is that we will not make our payment until we're sure that the county has made their payment. The county had some hiccups with communication with Miami, and speaking with Mr. Menlove just today, they're very close to getting this across the finish line at the county. We will approve this one and make that payment, knowing that it seems clear sailing at the county level. It's a paperwork issue that's delaying this, not any type of lack of desire to support this. And so with that, we make quarterly payments, but when we make our payments, we'll probably get caught up And so we'll probably make 2 payments as we go because we're in the second quarter now. But unless there's any other questions. I know Miami was very eager to get this
You're running out of
done.
money, so we need to.
Yeah. So
So, Mr. Vice Mayor, I would move to approve IGA 2024-0024 with the town of Miami for the Copper Mountain Transit System in the amount of $73,000 coming through account 10-50-51255, Marion Council Transportation HB 2565 match.
Second. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays say nay. Any abstaining? Any further discussion? Motion passes.
thank you.
Thank you. Item E, consideration and possible approval of charge order number 1 to contract number CS-2023-0029 with ASR Construction Group for wastewater treatment plant oxidation ditch maintenance in the amount of $4,967.19 from the available contract contingency of $8,770.20 previously approved to be funded from account number 51-8052-200 wastewater capital outlay construction. Vince.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. Coming tonight, it's a change order approved. If you remember, we did a full rehab on our wastewater plant in 2020, 2020. This summer, we did another cleaning and inspection of our ditch this past summer. Well, our first go around, we noticed that it was hard to get all the muck out because it's a flat bottom floor, and they had to build this berm to contain the sludge down there so we can actually pump it out. This time we ran into it again, but this time we decided before we build it back up, we were going to cut in a little sump there, or a pump can sit in there later on for our next cleans. So we plan to do this every 3 to 5 years. So this will just make it easier. We looked at the specs, the floor was plenty thick. We cut out 6 inches out of that concrete. It's about, I think it's a 4x4 square. That way the pump can sit in there real nice and make the clean effort much easier next time. Any questions?
I don't know, Vince, it took you a whole 5 minutes to come out and help us that day on Saturday, so I'm not sure how inclined. No, if there's no questions, I would move to approve change order number 1, contract CS-2023-0029 with ASR Construction Group for wastewater treatment plant oxidation ditch maintenance in the amount of $4,967.19 in the available contract contingency of $8,770.20 previously accrued to be funded from account 51-80-52200 wastewater capital outlay construction.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays say nay. Any abstaining? Any further discussion? Motion passes. Sit down.
Listen, ESD council.
You're like 4 away.
Okay, next on the agenda is late agenda items.
Mr. Vice Mayor, we have none. Thank you.
Second call to the public.
Let's check the phone and
I don't have any comments.
yeah, I don't see anybody. Let me peek in, refresh. No, nothing.
Okay. Scheduling your meeting.
We are wanted to check with council. We were asking to the cancellation of the December 28th regular council meeting in observance of the Christmas holiday. And is council supportive of us canceling that meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, you need a motion for that, you're good.
You approved the council agenda last year, so you should motion to.
Then I'll make a motion to cancel the December 28th regular council meeting for Christmas holiday.
Mr. Mayor, shouldn't that be the 26th?
I don't have a
I don't
calendar.
have a
The one I'm looking at should be the 26th.
Is it?
At
No,
least
let's-
the one I got.
Let me look.
26th is a Tuesday, 28th is a Thursday.
So I'll
Yes.
amend it to the 26th.
Yes,
Your
correction
calendar,
noted. Thank you.
Good job.
26. We had two planned for it.
Thank you. Sorry.
Second to the 26th.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, say nay. Any abstaining? Any further discussion? Motion passes. That was light.
That was nice.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, next on the agenda is future agenda items.
And
Nothing?
nothing that staff would like to bring up at this point. I don't know if anybody from council has any.
Added gavel.
What's that?
Added gavel.
I think in a rubber mallet, maybe.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? To you, sir.
Yes.
Motion made.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, say nay. Any abstaining? Any further discussion?
And Mr. Vice Mayor, when